All right, Stefan, I'm just getting your programming written up here, and I've typed out a bunch of notes, but I want to make sure that I'm really clear with everything and that you understand. I'm looking at my computer here. I'm not being rude or not trying to be. It's 3:33 in the morning, and I still need to work on Kiki's programming before I get to bed. And she didn't send me her programming until a few hours ago, so I should just say forget it and just not. I wouldn't, but I won't do that to Kiki. Um, so I'm walking through my notes here. Um, Log press looks great. I think it looks better than I thought it was going to look. What I'm seeing is that your knees are moving forward in front of you a little more than what we would like. So what we want to work on is your knees kind of moving out a little bit. A little less of the weight on your toes and more kind of on the blade of your foot as you dip down. What you're doing when your knees go forward, you're putting a little too much of the stress onto the knee and the patellar tendon. If we can get the knees to go out a little bit, and we're just talking a centimeter or so, then that puts a lot more of the leg drive onto the hip muscle, the glutes. The lower back is able to stabilize you better, and it's more of a jumping up. I don't know if you've ever played volleyball or basketball, but if you're trying to jump up as high as you can, your knees don't go forward before you jump up. Your butt goes down a little bit, and that allows you to use the most of your legs to jump as high as you can. I know that's very difficult with a log. It's much easier with a barbell, but these are only cues, things that you think about. It's not always going to be exactly like that, just the ways that you think about. Inclines are great. I think you've miscalculated your percentage a little bit. I explained here that if you can do 5 with something, then that's 85% or so. But we've also fatigued you by doing log press first. So what your normal 85% would be, you're a little bit fatigued here. So we're just kind of setting standards, not worried about exactly what is your best. But what is your best going to be on this day here? Front squats. I do want to make it clear that I probably wouldn't have put the front squats here at all, but you were doing them anyway. So I wanted to keep them in there if you were used to them. I don't want you to have knee pain or back pain at all. And that's a big concern for me because I don't want you to hurt. If I can keep you from hurting, then we can keep you making progress. But the first time that you show up and say, oh man, my knees are they're horrible today and I can't train this week, then we've lost a week, and then we have to be extra careful coming back. So what I want you to work on is to find your bottom position of the front squat first. And when you're at the bottom of the front squat, I want you to feel the pressure on your hip sockets, your glutes, not your knees. And that's going to take some time for you to figure out. This is easier to do with a back squat, especially with a higher bar weightlifting back squat. And for me, I have to put, right now, my body's kind of tight. So I end up with, say, 140 kilos on them before I can really feel it set onto my hips. But ideally, I can go through a training session. At the end of the training session, I can go back down to an empty bar and my body is stretched into a good position where I can feel it on my hips. But with a front squat, for me, it's a little easier to get that weight to sit on my hips because I can get my back more upright. Now, it's important for you to find that bottom position because if you find the bottom position, then the stress becomes more on your glutes and less on your lower quads, knees, and your patellar tendon. We can work on that. Remember, I've said that if this hurts, skip it. Don't do it. It's not worth it. I don't want you injured at all. So it's a great exercise. It's good to be here. I would rather see you put 60 kilos on there and do 3 sets of 5 or do whatever reps and sets that I've asked of you with 60 kilos and not be injured than I would for you to push this and be injured. So, it's important to get the weight to set onto your hips instead of your knees. I want you to be explosive on the way up because that's how I want you to transfer this over into things like your log press, your axle press, your Atlas stones, tire flip, things like that. And there's no reason for us to ever go more than 125% of your best log press on these. So we're starting out light. Keep going through my notes here. What 1 rep max should you use? Base it off a training max, something you know that you cannot miss. I would rather you over recover, have less pain, get an extra rep, an extra set, to choose to do something more because, this wasn't really enough today, or to over recover because I wasn't really killed today, than I would for you to ever miss a rep in training. So that's generally my theory on things. See the knee in the front squat. You can also kind of open your knees, spread your knees out a little bit so you're kind of sitting down into the pocket. We're going to work on this. We're going to work on this and we're going to get it right. And I want to make those front squats work for you. You definitely need larger, stronger legs. Absolutely. Your squat is way behind your deadlift. I love your warm-ups. Your box squats look great. One thing that you can do with your box squats is instead of having it flat and square behind your feet, turn it a little bit so it's like a diamond triangle between your feet, between your shoes. I think you could set back a little more, but you look fairly comfortable. As long as you don't have pain right now, that's an amazing box squat for me working with a client at week 1. I don't see many mistakes there. I don't see any mistakes. There are things that I think you could do better, but I don't see a single mistake, and that never happens at week 1 with anybody. Looked really, really solid. Looked really, really solid. The good morning squats look absolutely great. What I want you to do is when you good morning back, I want you to get the position to where your back and your hips are so tight that you feel it just killing your hamstrings as you sit back. And then you go back as far as you can, which is what you're doing, and then drop into your squat. You dropping into the squat and coming up was absolutely fantastic. I can't teach that to people. I don't know who you've been around that is that explosive with a movement like that. But again, that's just phenomenal. I don't see that kind of, I don't see that from clients. I just don't. It's really shocking and really thrilling for me. But the position that you're looking for in the good morning is to go back into a position to where you feel your hamstrings are just being ripped apart. And that shouldn't be that deep, because I want your arch in your back to be so hard that you really don't have to good morning back very far to get to that position. The thing is, the heavier that you get on the bar, the more it's going to make you kind of round forward, and the more it's going to put a little bit more stress on your abs and all of your back, and a little bit less of the hamstrings. But this is kind of your dynamic movement here. This is a movement that I think we can make transfer over into all of your strongman events. And it's not one that I can use with many athletes because, again, most people can't do it correctly. And then you're doing it really, really freaking close. I would love it if you added a band. You could grab a medium-sized dumbbell and a really small band. I think having any kind of band sort of grounds you to the floor, and it will help you to put more stress onto your hamstrings and more stress to be able to feel your erectors from your neck to your butt a little bit tighter and working. If that's not possible, then it's just not possible. But we're going to do some exercises in the next couple of weeks where that will be important. Now, normally, because you're more of an athlete than a power lifter, I'm going to take these first 2 leg exercises that you're doing and rotate them nonstop. I'll have 8 or 10 exercises that we'll throw in there, and we'll rotate those nonstop. The first one will be heavy or for sets and reps, and the second one will always be dynamic against bands. But because you are so athletic, well, I didn't do that yet because I want to make sure technique and everything feels good. I want to get a better feel on how you're recovering, and I want you to understand what's going on a little bit better before I throw a bunch of things at you. But we're going to have to figure out a way to set up some really light band tension at some point. Your lat work and ab work, fantastic. Your bench press is great as long as you're not really concerned with being good at the bench press. You make, some powerlifting mistakes that would make me go crazy if you were a powerlifter, but as a strongman, you're doing fine. Forward board press, I mentioned here when it comes to the board presses, if you are a lifter who misses the log at, say, nose level or just above eyebrow level, then we need to work on 2 board and 3 board. If you are a lifter that misses the log just above the head, then we need to work more 3 board and 4 board. If you tell me the 4 board's terrible and you're embarrassed to do it, then we won't do it. But we're going to try some things right now and see if we can make it transfer over. Deadlifts. You mentioned you were tired, so maybe that was it. There was only 75% on the bar, and sometimes at 75%, it's not even heavy enough to get technique right. But the first thing that I saw was that your hips, your butt shot straight up. It was the first thing that moved. That causes your shoulders to go forward over in front of the bar, and that's not a position that you want to be in. That's a lot of back, and it puts the hamstrings in a really bad position as well. Maybe you're also avoiding your knee. I don't know. We're going to figure that out. Increase the percent a little bit. I'm going to add in some deficit deadlifts this week. Again, if anything hurts, stop it or take 10, 15% off the bar immediately. The sets and reps are almost always the important thing. The percent, the weight on the bar is almost never important. I can do my job as long as you are not injured. Glute ham raises, get rid of the box. I put a video up here. Get the full swing, the absolute full swing, like I put in the video here. And we've got to get stronger on these. Yoke and farmers look great. What I'm seeing here, and I'm seeing a trend here, is that you are walking and moving with your back. You're using your back and your hip flexors and abs to carry your body, to walk. You're not using your quads and you're not using your hamstrings. One of the things that you can do as a warm-up is a very quick, I don't want to say a jog, but like a really sort of fast walk. So if you're doing the yoke, 10 meters, make a couple of fast walks from one side to the next. And the goal is that when you walk, kick a little bit with each one of your hamstrings. That means that your knees are going to have to be bent a little bit. Your hips are going to have to be able to move a little bit. And you're going to have to use your legs a little more to push yourself forward. Now, I do think it would be best if we could work on some really light sprints. And I mean light, and I use the word sprint very lightly. I just mean a really quick walk where you're having to kick with your hamstrings and your quads a little bit as you go from one side to the other. But I also understand that this is not the most comfortable thing to do in public. So as a warm-up, if it were me, I would do a quick walk / very slow sprint for the 10 meters. Walk back, and I would do 4 trips of that. And again, the key is that you feel that you're kicking with your hamstrings and your quads are both helping to propel you down the course. That would be my warm-up before I ever picked up the yoke, and I would repeat it again for 1 or 2 sets before I picked up the farmers. You're really fast, you're really strong, but you are all back and hip flexors when you're doing both of these events. You see, I've made some changes on your programming a little bit. Nothing crazy because I want to give you a chance to go back and we laid a foundation. I want to go back and continue working on things. Now, your bench press, your 2 board, 3 board, and 4 board work, it's very light. 85% for 3 is actually light because you should be able to get 5 reps with 85% on a full bench press. I don't care if you just do 85% for 1. I really don't care. That's more than enough for a strongman. When it comes to the 2 board, we went from 80%, which was light and easy. Like you said, the 4 board was a joke. But we're increasing by 5%, and we're going to continue to increase by 5%. And we're going to continue to keep 2 and 3 sets of each. The idea here is that we want to work your lockout muscles, your triceps, your rear delts, your back, your lats, the lockout of the pec minor Like, it's just still going to be similar to what you're going to do on the log press. But, we need a heavy weight on there. But how many sets and how many reps, 85%, are your triceps going to get if I only have you do regular bench press? So if I have you go out and you get 5 or 6 reps with 85% on the bench press, and then I have you come back and you get 3, and then you come back and you get 1 or 2. So that's 5 plus 3 is 8, 1 more is 9, maybe 10. Well, as the way I've got it written here, so we've got 85 for 3, 85% for 3. And then on 2 board, we get 2 sets of 3. So we got 6 more reps. And then 2 sets of 3 off the 3 board, 6 more reps. And then we go to the 4 board, another 2 sets of 3. So another 6 reps. So we've got 18, 19, 20, 21 reps at or above 85% for triceps and all the lockout muscles. And that's really important. And pretty soon that's going to be 90% and 92% on all of those. We won't be getting 2 sets of 3 on everything, but we're going to be getting sets and reps. So it's going to add up, it's going to build, and I want it to have a purpose, and I want you to understand that. So it doesn't have to be hard work. It's not even satisfying, but what I want to see is I want all of this to transfer over to your log press, Viking press, axle press here in 6 weeks from now. Let's see. The deadlift day, let me know if that needs to be moved to a separate day. I don't want you to constantly be going into deadlifts tired and feeling like crap. Yoke farmer stones look absolutely phenomenal. We have increased it to 70% for 3 sets of 4. You choose the platform height. As long as everything's feeling good, next week we can move to somewhere around 80 to 85%. And you just let me know how your recovery is. That way I can adapt and adjust everything to you. Abs, I can tell right off the bat that I'm going to trust you completely on how everything is going to feel. So I'm not concerned with that at all. Anyway, it's 3:50 in the morning, and I've got another program to write before I can get to bed. So I'm going to get this set to upload, send you your programming. And if you have any questions, yell at me tomorrow, man. I'm hopefully going to sleep in, but then I've got a long day of work, and then I'm loading stones on Monday night. So have a good one. Hope this makes some sense, and I'll talk to you soon.